Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers to the Books by Adrian author platform and our flagship show, Livestream Sunday. If you are new, my name is Adrian Santiago. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be your host today and every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, same time, same channel. We have 2 more episodes scheduled for Season 3 after this one. Thank you very, very much for being here for episode 14 of Season 3. I thank each and every one of you for all your time and support. It means the world to me. Thank you very much. If you are indeed new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Turn on the notifications. That'll let you know every time that we go live. Don't forget to leave a like on the actual video itself, the stream. Doing this helps the channel to reach more people and to grow and all that kind of good stuff. If you didn't make it to the live show and you're catching this on the replay, thank you very much for doing so. Take a moment to leave a comment down below telling us the title of your work in progress and what stage you are in. All right, today's episode will feature 3 short segments totaling out to a 1-hour runtime. We'll take some questions from the chat in the 3rd segment, and throughout the show, please label any questions for our guest today with a big Q so I can easily find them in the chat when the time comes. All right, enough of the business. Let's get into it. About our guest today. Our guest today began his writing journey with fitness books, which is incredibly interesting to me. So when you see how jacked he is, you'll get it. But now he's diving into fiction for the first with the first book in his series, and the series is Original Earth Chronicles. I can't wait to learn all about it. It sounds right up my alley. So let's get him out here. Snaps in the chat, and please help me welcome to the show, Chris Kenny. All right, Chris, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
Thank you so much for having me, and for everyone watching, thank you so much for giving up your time to watch me talk about books and a load of stuff. And I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Thank you very, very much. That was a very professional little intro you just did there. I'm very impressed. Go ahead and take the floor for a second. Tell the people at home who you are, where you're from, and what you got going on these days.
So my name is Chris Kenny, as we probably understand by now. I'm 32 years old, and I'll call myself an author, living in London. Of these books behind me even. So I'm currently writing the Original Earth Chronicles, which is that one at the very top. It's going to be a trilogy. The first book is out. The second book will be released imminently, and that's it for now.
All right, you ready? You're in the hot seat.
Sorry, I lost the audio for a real quick second there. I can hear you now, though.
That's all right. I think that was my goof up. All right, so that's gone.
I'll let you off.
So, here we go. First, let's start out with what kinds of stories you were writing when you were young. I read in your bio that you've been writing since you were very young and then moved away from it and came back to it. What kind of stuff were you writing way back when?
Oh man, just really bad stuff. It was kind of heavily influenced by things I was watching at the time. So, give an example, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Watched that, loved it. And I decided I'm going to just rewrite the last act, but my own version with my own characters.
Okay,
so
bold.
I did that. Yeah, I know, right? I was like, Tolkien, step aside, I got this.
Yeah.
It didn't quite live up. Who knew?
You probably needed a couple of rewrites, that's all.
Yeah, maybe like 1 or 2 drafts, but Yeah, just kind of anything that would come to mind. I remember one story I wrote was about bullies at school. It was like for a school project, so I was kind of led down the path of that. But I really liked writing that actually. There's like three kids picking on one kid, so it was I thought it was quite a meaningful story for about 5 pages.
Yeah, and then somewhere along the way, it just kind of veered off.
Yeah, just went.
I know
Yeah.
exactly how. Yeah, that
Yeah.
yes, I can relate. Now, I mentioned that your first couple of books were fitness books. Obviously, you're a very fit dude. Where did your love of fitness and personal health come from, and what would you recommend to somebody who wants to fall in love with fitness but is having a little trouble, you know?
Listen, lockdown has been tough for all of us. Okay? It's not been easy.
It started before lockdown, but I appreciate the excuse.
We're all riding that wave, man, at the moment. I'm still riding it, so let's just keep it there.
Yeah.
So, where did love of fitness come from? I've always been highly competitive as a person. So, been playing sports my whole life, football or soccer, basketball, badminton, anything really, bit of gymnastics, track and field, as you guys call it. We call it athletics. So posh. Yeah, so very competitive. And when I was 21, so we're going back about 11 years, I tore my cruciate ligament in my knee.
Sounds
And
painful.
yeah, if you haven't ever experienced it, don't. It's really bad. So I couldn't play sports for like a year. And I had to like rehab, physical therapy, all that kind of stuff.
For a very
So
active
that,
person, I imagine that was probably really hard to go a whole year without doing, your favorite physical activities.
yeah, for sure. I mean, at the time I was playing a lot of, we call it five-a-side soccer, so 5 people each team, just little
Mm,
mini kind of version. I was loving that, but had to give that up.
man.
And then, yeah, that kind of led me down the path of actually going to the gym. So I've never gone to the gym before at all. So that kind of started things off. I didn't really follow it up until a couple of years later. And I was really quite shy, insecure, just worried about everything and lacking in confidence in general, right? So a friend took me to the gym and he was like, oh, just try it. You love it. You get some muscles, you're going to look good. And that was kind of all I was trying to do. It was a very aesthetic kind of a reason to go to the gym. And of course, lo and behold, I realized that you don't just look huge after 6 weeks of lifting weights. Who knew? Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of fell in love with it. Honestly, I think I just really enjoyed seeing the progression. Slow progression. It was kind of like, it takes a while, it takes weeks, and you have to be quite strict. But yeah, I just really loved seeing the changes in my body, how I could actually, respond in the gym to pushing myself further than I thought I could, i.e., lifting big weights on my back without just snapping in half. So that was kind of cool. And yeah, honestly, that just kind of snowballed into what I do now, which is working out, kind of 5 times a week. I've done a couple of bodybuilding shows where I've
Nice.
got on stage in my pants, and that's a great look. So yeah, that's kind of the real long-winded answer of saying how I got into fitness.
Yeah.
And second part of the question, how to get into it.
Yeah. If you have a little trouble committing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've all been there. I've been there. I took, like a year or so off from the gym partway through this journey where I was just kind of didn't really feel it anymore. I think you've got to set your own mindset and be willing to change. And that's step one, right? If you recognize, I want to change how I look, I want to, lose weight or get bigger, whatever it is you want to do, recognize that you have to do that. And step two is you need a plan. And why I say that is because initially motivation is going to get you into the gym and will take you so far. But as soon as that motivation starts to wane, you're going to miss days. All of a sudden, your diet's going to slip. So, you've got to kind of have a real, I would say, quite regimented plan. So 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it might be, where you're following something almost religiously, like your diet, your workouts, and you just got to stick with it, in all honesty. And the enjoyment, hopefully, will come. It's, you just got to kind of really try and make it not a habit or a chore. Just try and have fun with it. Try and be like, hey, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to beat what I did last week, and just set these little goals that you can just nibble away at, and hopefully that will get you going. I like that poll.
I decided to throw it up there. I'm gonna start experimenting with polls in the show and see how that goes. So
that's a very good poll.
But there you go. We're not, and when I do work out, I notice a difference in my writing. A lot of people don't talk about stuff like that, but you notice a difference in your work, in your mood, in your everyday to day life, and that affects your writing. If you're an author and you want to be a good writer, you probably should also focus on how healthy you are. I mean,
just to kind of jump off the back of that. For me, I work out in the morning, first thing, before I've even eaten anything. Some people wouldn't like doing that, but for me, it just gets me ready for the day. You can kind of just clear your head, and I just really like getting a workout done straight away. And then my writing later on, when I do it normally middle of the day towards the evening, I find I can actually focus on it. And I'm not kind of feeling guilty about, I've not done a workout, I've not done this, I've not done that. It kind of all, leads you the right way, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Key word there, right?
You can always hope.
Let's take a second to acknowledge everybody in the chat. So many were here early, including Richard. Amelia got here real bright and early. Adam is here. Adam and Richard are both on the show next week. So come back for that. It should be quite the experience. I'm looking at you, Richard.
Mr. Holiday.
You gotta love that dude, man. I don't know where he gets the energy. So Ava's here. All right, Papa Sauce. Cool name. Kent. Always a treat to have you stop by, my friend. For everybody who doesn't know yet, Kent is the new finale episode, Victoria, hello, of this season. You know what? Let's go ahead and take a quick second to let everybody know about that. I'm going to take this banner off, and we're going to do our thing right here. Get ready, Ken. I'm not playing around, bro.
These intros, man. Let's just talk about the production quality. So
we don't have to. We don't have to talk about it.
Pick you up a bit. Come on.
Put me on the spot. Thank you. I work really, really hard on them. All right. So to everybody in the chat, I did see a couple of ones that I wage war against dad bod 7 days a week at 4:30 a.m. I was messaging with Kent the other day, and he was like, well, it's 4:30 a.m. time to go to the gym. I'm like,
hell yeah.
You were already up talking to me. Like, what? Like, you're not even getting up now at 4:30 a.m. You were already up. What?
Oh, man. Kent's schedule is just...
I don't know when he sleeps, dude. Like, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it. I remember when I took up cycling at my heaviest or close to it. I never imagined I could get to 10-mile-a-day route. Nice. But I did. Pre-toddler. Toddler got me more active. Nice.
Nice.
Of course, exactly what I'm talking about. Richard coming in hot. All right.
What about railings or banisters? What about them, indeed?
Used to have this fantasy where a fitness coach would see the mess that I am, and a fitness coach would see the mess I am. Hey, I can help you in a rain falls me on the plate.
I like that. That's got to be a jumping off point for a story. Come on.
Bananas. You people are hilarious. What are you doing in my chat? Master of all media. Hilarious. All right, so let's continue. So next up, how long did it take to write each of your fitness books, and what is that process like? Because I can't even imagine where to begin. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it there was like a 1 year gap between these two here. There they are. And it took me, I will guess, I think it was about 3 months for each. The process was, well, I'm gonna have to start with a bit of a story. I do apologize. I don't want to
Not at all. That's what we're here for, man. Hit us.
take the whole time up with this, but so I wrote that one, the men's physique one, from Geek to Men's Physique, I think it's called. I can't remember the title now. That was kind of based off my stage experience. When I say stage experience, I mean literally being up on stage, judged in a bodybuilding competition. So that was kind of done as like almost like a diary. I used to have this blog where I would actually write kind of weekly updates and be like, this week I felt like crap because I had like 2 meals. This week I felt good because I had more meals. You know, it was very exhilarating stuff. And I thought, let's put all that into a book. So the idea being, if someone was looking to compete in bodybuilding, they would kind of have the tools necessary that perhaps I didn't, and the advice. So actually writing it was a lot of, obviously my own perspective, heavily. There was a lot of researching to make sure I wasn't talking complete rubbish, which when you're writing non-fiction, you have to really be quite careful with what you're doing. So that was that book. The other book, right, I keep pointing the wrong way. That one right there, there he is. 12-week body transformation. So I wrote that as like a guide, as more of something I wish I had when I started. You're just walking into the gym for the first time. You don't know what to do. You don't know what weights to do, what exercises, what's a squat bar, what's a bench press, what's anything. So again, I wrote that from the perspective of, I wish I had this when I started. So a lot of my own views, own input. There's a training plan in there. There's a nutrition guide, which I've actually used. And it was just kind of trying to just give people something, back, if you will, from my experiences. And once again, a lot of research. And it's not as easy, I don't think, as writing fiction. I think with fiction, there's a certain flow. You can just literally, in my case anyway, I can just kind of let the words come out. With non-fiction, it was like I had to stop, check something, research something, check it again. So it's quite a slow and arduous process. But the goal was actually to use this to launch my own kind of fitness brand and be like an online coach and, kind of tell people how to lose weight, how to put on muscle, how to sort out their diets, all that kind of stuff. That's a quote that I said. Fiction is a piece of piss. In comparison to non-fiction. So yeah. It was kind of like it was going to be a jumping off point for my own fitness platform. But that just kind of never really happened. So once I started writing those books, I kind of rediscovered my love for writing in general. And then I kind of went down the other path towards fiction. So yeah, I think that's the question answered.
Yeah. So now with the fitness books, you're talking about like the amount of research that goes into them and everything, and also that it's meant for people who are just starting out and want to accomplish something, substantial, and don't know how to start or whatever. Just like you wanted to make it easier on yourself, so now you're going to make it easier on other people. The same kind of thing is what's coming to my website with these courses that we have coming up with myself and some other authors. I mean, I just recently finished my first draft of the novel that's going to be my debut novel, right? And like not necessarily the first thing I've written, but the first thing that I'm finishing and putting out.
Awesome.
And thank you. And finishing a first draft is I think a huge deal to me. Like it felt like a very like cathartic, like, breath kind of moment. But then it also is this, like once you take those 2 weeks or whatever buffer time it is that you take off and you come back to it and you look at it again and you see what a mess it is and how much work you still have ahead of you. it's this like bittersweet thing where it's like, yeah, I finished my first draft, but I still have so much further to go. So that's kind of the space where I want my course to exist for people, is this idea of, hey man, you've never finished a first draft before. I just finished a first draft. Let me tell you at least how I did it. And hopefully it'll make it easier for you to finish that, you know. And then we'll have other authors who will have other courses for further along in the process. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, and your fitness books being aimed the way that they are you going to be doing more in this nonfiction realm in the future? Are you exclusively in the fiction zone now? What would you do differently if you do put out a new nonfiction, you know, fitness geared work?
Oh, my goodness me, so much different. For starters, this is something that I know irks Richard Holiday. It was the size of my non-fiction books. They're not kind of standard paperback size. They're a little bit bigger. And they're incredibly thin, actually. They're lacking content, shall we say. And I think everything was a bit of a mess. Like the font size, the way it was formatted, it was just all quite amateur hour, let's put it that way. So if I was going to do it again, it would be a lot different just in that respect. I know how to format, in that I use a program called Vellum and I let it do it for me. And I think, it would be totally different. Would I do it again? Never say never. Would it necessarily be about fitness? Perhaps not. I don't know if there's much left in the fitness world for me to explore. You know, I might go back onto the stage one day if time allows, because it's, you know, going on stage is such a huge commitment. It's such a selfish thing as well. You know, all of a sudden you can't go out on dinner dates. You can't eat things with, you know, your partner or whatever. You can't socialize. You can't really do anything. You have to be so strict to the point of obsession. And at the end of, you know, your 12 or 16 weeks of hardcore dieting or preparation, you get on stage for one day and it's all over in the blink of an eye. So it's hyper focused, but is the reward worth it? Depends. It really depends on your kind of viewpoint. So
it depends on what you're trying to get out of it, I guess, at the end of the day, you know.
Exactly. I mean,
for those of us for those of us who just want to be fit, like, you know, once you get there and you're healthy and you're happy, like, you know, I don't need to be on stage like flexing.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit it was fun, and I did it again going back to my kind of early life. I'm very competitive, so I wanted to test myself against my own vision and against other people as well. And you know, for where I'm at in my life, I'm very unlikely to get what's called a pro card, i.e. you can start earning money out of this. I don't think I'll get there, if I'm being completely honest. I'm 32 now. There's guys coming in 19, 20, 21 years old who are looking a million times better than me. So,
well, that's always going to be the deal, right? Like there's always going to be somebody that comes along and does it just a little bit better. And
and that's just not a bad thing. You know, that can be very
that's the nature of competition and development and progress. You know,
exactly. I just think for me, I've kind of done that side now, and my focus is all on my writing, so to speak.
Right on.
And other things.
Yeah.
So
so what's like the biggest challenge that you didn't expect when publishing your first book?
It was something so just mundane. It was honestly all to do with like the formatting and getting it within the right margins so that Amazon would actually accept it, and you know, setting it out properly. I had no clue. I was literally just typing away on Microsoft Word or even Google Docs. I was just like, yeah, this is easy, this is great. And it's like, okay, how do you make a book out of it? You need a contents page, you need margins. I was like, oh no. So you got to do math and stuff. You got to figure out like how thick your book is going to be. So where do I need my margins? Because the page thickness is going to... Yeah. And like my cover artist was like, what size do you want? I was like, I don't know. There are sizes? What are the sizes? Like, book's a book, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, can you make it do this? Like that's what I'm looking for. Like that and that. That's it.
Those are my measurements. About yay.
Yeah,
Yay
I think
big.
it's this big. So yeah, that stuff, that was, my God, it was mind blowing because you just don't ever think about that when you.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. Maybe I'm just.
I didn't either. No, I didn't either. I'll do you one better. In my youth, I grew up in love with movies, TV shows, books, any stories I could consume. I was consuming them. I was a huge Michael Crichton fan. I read everything that he wrote. So like I appreciated good stories. It never occurred to me that you could do that for a living. It just never occurred to me that there are people who actually do. I'm reading a Michael Crichton book, not knowing that, like, oh yeah, the dude had to sit down and write this thing. Like it didn't exist before he wrote it. So like when when I finally started writing for myself, I'm like, oh yeah, like people have to do this. Like I could just do this.
You can do it. Yeah.
It's like ridiculous how. All right. So, was there like a crystallizing moment where you knew that you were switching to fiction, and like what happened there? Like where there was a switch.
Yeah.
What happened?
There's always a switch in life. For me, it was my fiance. So we're going back to June 2020. So we're deep in lockdown, or wherever it was during COVID. We call it lockdown over here. I think everyone calls it lockdown.
Yeah. Quarantine.
Yeah, exactly. And she just said to me, we just finished, I say we because she always proofreads, edits my books. So we just finished that one there, The Body Transformation. And we're sitting on the sofa. We've completed Netflix at this point. We've seen everything. We've done Amazon Prime. We've watched everything. We're like, what do we do? So she's like, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write me a love story? Write me a love story, she said. Okay, fine. I'll just write a love story.
Isn't it funny how they just tell us to do something and we just do it?
Funny how that works, right? She's
okay.
Absolutely kill
I'll
me.
just write you a love story.
So I did. I just started writing, and it was just kind of nothing at first. And I wrote, I think the first chapter, and I showed it to her. I was like, "What do you think?" And she was like, "This is actually, this has got legs, right?" And that's an interesting poll result, by the way, 50-50.
50, yes, straight 50-50.
Very interesting. So anyway, yeah, she's reading it. She's like, "This is pretty good. Let's keep going with it." And that's what we did. I say I credit her immensely for that one up there. There it is, the love story.
You're killing me with the pointing. It's so funny.
I'm trying to use props,
Yeah, I appreciate it. Visual aids. It's a visual medium.
Right?
I'm all for it.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I say, I credit her heavily. She really helped me because look, I'm going to level with you guys. I've never read a romance novel, so I didn't know the genre, I didn't know the tropes, didn't realize how dialogue heavy it was. So she really helped. I love you, but stop pointing. Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, she basically helped immensely writing it. So that was kind of the turning point. And I realized, oh yeah, I really love writing books that are, not all just about fitness and tables, about eat this, lift that. So yeah, that kind of got the ball rolling.
It's funny to me that folks in the chat are saying that, like, for example, this one, that it's easier to write fiction because there's less research. I mean, obviously, if you're writing nonfiction, there's going to be a lot of research involved. But I don't know. I feel like I did probably just as much research for my novel as anyone would for a piece of nonfiction. I mean, especially like writing fantasy and science fiction, like you want the science to make sense. You want it to be plausible. Like, yes, it's fiction, but you want people to believe it. So it has to be grounded. And so there's a lot of research that goes into just making something like make sense in a story, and avoiding 100%. Plot holes.
Yes, 100%. And research is key, especially if you're trying to write military and you give your book to someone who works in the army, mentioning no names, Kent, they're going to pull you up on your mistakes. So do your research, people.
Yeah, it's good to have those people around. Was your first book always going to be Original Earth Chronicles? Tell us a little bit about that book, pitch it to us, and tell us how it came about.
So I this is gonna sound really corny, but I had a dream, and basically I had this really evil guy in this dream called Ulrich Korfminer, and he was kind of just rampaging through people, just leaving bodies in his wake. And in the dream, I saw this guy on the ground. He's all messed up, and he's just saying, "Ulrich Korfminer," you know. I was like, "Oh!" I woke up like, "What the hell was that?" I got on Google straight away, typed in Ulrich Korfminer. The name didn't come up. I was like, "Right, I've got my bad guy. Let's put that in there." And then the story itself, so it's a kind of time travel adventure, sci-fi, yeah, like an adventure kind of book, I would say. A lot of time travel, a lot of things moving pieces, conspiracy. Yeah, so it's a bit of a ride, shall we say. And yeah, the actual idea of the plot came from, I'm a huge comic book fan, by the way. So
Nice, me too.
yeah, so X-Men Days of Future Past. That I love. Oh man, that whole story. So, you know, there's a lot of time travel.
This one's one of my favorites.
Oh yes.
The Long Halloween.
Yeah.
Read it every Halloween.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so I was kind of I've always been intrigued by time travel, so I wanted to write, you know, things that I enjoy. So I thought, right, let's put time travel in there. I've always been fascinated with ancient Egypt, so I had my main characters based in Egypt at the start of the book, and it's called the Golden Pyramid. So there's a pyramid in the book somewhere, and
it's golden.
And it is golden, believe me. So yeah, that was kind of how it all came about. It all just started to come together, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many times, you know, the answer to where did that story come from was something like that, a dream or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, like my prologue came from a mushroom trip I had once, and then the prologue turned into a novel, and the novel turned into a series, and like I don't know, I can't stop. So
Happy days. That's awesome.
so let's talk first draft for Original Earth Chronicles. How did what was the excuse me. How long did the first draft take, and what was the word count at, more or less?
It took me, I want to say 3.5, maybe. I think it was actually 3.5 months.
That's not bad. That's real fast, actually.
Yeah, thanks. I'm kind of behind schedule this year. I think people who know me, my dad passed away in March, kind of out of nowhere. So that's kind of derailed things hugely, you know. So yeah, first draft, 3.5 months. And I think the word count ended up at around about 85,000. And then eventually the final word count was about 80,000. So trimmed a fair bit off, but
nice. Yeah. Kind of slimmed it down. Right on. Okay. And and what was the biggest challenge of that first draft, being a first, you know, your first work of fiction that you're putting out? What stopped you in your tracks?
I'm quite fortunate in that I don't really kind of suffer from writer's block, which I know a lot of people do. I kind of just power through and just write. So the real challenge for me was, I had in my head this was always going to be a trilogy. It was just about making sure I leave each book as a satisfying conclusion to that story, whilst the overarching series continues. Which, you know, I kind of just relied heavily on the original Star Wars trilogy, like A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
You kind of just follow that blueprint a little bit.
Sure.
And I think, again, the challenge for me was just making sure I had all my pieces where they needed to be, and I wasn't getting tangled in my own web of time travel, because it can get confusing real quick. So, yeah.
Time travel stories I love to read and watch, but I'm afraid to try one. This just they're very I don't want to write it. I just want to keep reading the time travel stories. And I have this like little scratch in the back of my brain that's telling me that there's something time travel that's going to happen somewhere in this series, and I'm just like, don't do it.
Do it. I'm telling you, do it.
But I don't know what it is. I just know that there's some, like, eventually I'm going to be writing a chapter and I'm going to stop and go, oh no, this is it.
Where do you come from?
This is where the time travel is going to happen. I don't know. Like, I can feel it. It's right here. I can smell doom. It's right around the corner. Plotter or pantser?
With a little bit of plotting.
So then maybe the more appropriate question, which is the one that I like, is architect or gardener. You're sounding more like a gardener.
Yeah, I think I'm a gardener.
Yeah. Like a lot of structure, but then, a little bit of free. And I was going to say, in regards to writing the series and making sure that each story stands alone, it is complete, but also progresses a series forward. You mentioned going with the Star Wars model, and one of the things that I really, really love that they do in the Star Wars series is that there's a time jump between every movie. You never ever pick up right where you left off. There's always a space in time since the last time you saw your characters. And so every time you see your characters, they're already a little different from the last time, and you have to find out like what happened to them in the in between that progressed them to this point. So I feel like that's part of it, and that's what I try to do is I rely on structure to accomplish that. I make sure that my whole book fits within the chapters allotted, and then I'll have a prologue and an epilogue. And that's how I set up what came before and what's coming later. And just kind of like have the connective tissue between books be those extra chapters there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, how many drafts do you go through before you put a book out?
3 or 4. So I'll do my first draft, then I'll reread it after maybe a week or so break, just to give me some space, make whatever changes I need to.
Nice.
Then it goes over to beta readers, advanced readers, who I'm immensely grateful for. They point out what sucks. I get it back, and
they're good like
then
that.
I give it to my fiance. She does the final editing. So yeah, by that point we're kind of like 3 drafts, and then I'll do like a final pass where I'm just full stops, crossing the T's, etc.
Nice.
So it's 3 or 4 roughly.
And what's your favorite part of this development phase? The entire process of putting out a book from start to finish. What's the best part?
Man. The first draft for me, I just love just writing and getting it all raw out there without really kind of worrying about, does this word make sense? Who cares? Just put it in there. Fix that later. Just get the story. Yeah,
it definitely is kind of it's an intense experience, I think, finishing a first draft. It's it feels big. It feels powerful for sure. For sure. Okay, let's see here. What was a show of support that ultimately helped your book come out? I know you mentioned your wife basically, scolded you into doing it.
Let me clarify. It wasn't quite as bad as you all are making out.
I'm getting you in trouble on purpose. I'm just messing with your marriage now.
Yeah, that's fine. Obviously, her by my side. Fantastic. But I have to credit Richard Holiday. He's here, hopefully still here. We haven't bored him yet.
He's around.
He's been, dude, ride or die from day one since my kind of original blogging.
Nice. And
we've been, we talk every single day about anything, but always there to push each other when we need it. He's always been in my corner, man, and I can't express enough gratitude to him. Really awesome guy.
That's awesome, man. I have more questions, but we're going to set those aside for now. If we don't get to them today, we'll get to them in the podcast. But let's hop over to the topic of discussion for today, which we've kind of been talking about as we've been going here. Here we go.
More graphics. I love it. There we go.
All right. So we're talking the differences between publishing fiction versus nonfiction. We've already had a poll today referencing that. having started out with your fitness books, and what have you noticed to be the first big difference between the process of writing, publishing one of those, and writing and publishing a work of fiction? We talked about research. Anything else that really stands out to you as like the big differences between the two processes?
Yeah, weirdly, things like diagrams and tables, and again, it's probably just in the niche that I wrote in with fitness. I had a lot of tables, like of what to eat, what to do exercise-wise, and at one point I was toying with actually including pictures, which I know obviously some fiction books do have pictures, but
Sure.
I think in the main, if we're talking about the kind of books that we're writing in this space, it's going to be just literally words on a page, right?
Typically.
So that was obviously a big difference. And in terms of actually publishing it, for me, my books have all gone to Amazon. The love story did go wide, actually. So the actual process of publishing, all very similar. You know, you're kind of doing the same. You know what you're doing by the time you get to book 3, book 4. I mean, you're telling me to tread carefully.
No, it was me. It was me when I was when I was messing with you guys.
You get us in trouble, man.
That's from that's from a while ago. I just wanted to throw it up there, let her know that I see it. It's funny. Continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. Yeah, so I think for me that was the main difference, was the actual process rather than the publishing side. I think it all kind of feels very similar for me, at least. Anyway, you know, you're still doing, you know, behind the scenes stuff or your keywords. You're still going to do your same kind of marketing. It's just kind of different spaces that you're.
I was actually going to ask about the marketing, if there was any major differences in that, because you know marketing is such a, I don't know, it's such murky waters. You know, it's hard to navigate. So it's you know what are you doing differently, if anything, between your fiction and your nonfiction works as far as marketing?
I mean, marketing is still something I'm very much learning, and I think for the love story, I experimented with Amazon ads quite a lot, and that whole kind of can of worms. When you open that, you're like, oh my goodness me, there's so many different ways to target the right people. Compared with the fitness books, the only marketing I did for that was kind of on my Instagram page. So as I say, my goals were very different. I wanted to build my fitness brand. So it was kind of already targeting the audience I had over on Instagram.
Gotcha.
You know, the followers I had, it was like, you know, stories.
Already had kind of a built-in audience right there.
Yeah, you know, people that I say are an audience, but they're just kind of people that are in the same space, like the same fitness world. So
Sure.
Are they going to be my clients? Actually, it turns out no. So it was.
But they might help you promote that stuff if they have their own followers and whatnot.
That was it. You know, I've got friends who've got huge accounts, like 20,000 followers or whatever, and more. And it was kind of, hey, can you quickly just post that on your story? Can you just share this? That was about as far as I got marketing-wise for fitness books. And I did actually do what I haven't done for fiction. I put both of those books up for free for 1 week on launch. I can't tell you why I did that. I think it was just to get people to get it.
It's a good way to get people to get it.
Yeah.
If it's free, it's for me. That's what I always say.
Yeah, and it kind of worked quite well. The second book, the transformation one, got to number 2 in the nutrition and fitness category on Amazon,
Nice.
which was, I was really like, well, okay.
Yeah.
It's done nothing since, don't worry. It's just, I'm just being real.
That's the thing, though, man. Is you know the life of a book ends when you stop marketing it. I feel like, you know what I mean. You gotta if you want it to continue selling, you gotta keep marketing it forever. It's crazy.
That's exactly it, and that's the kind of difference. Going back to the original point with the love story, I was kind of marketing that heavily around. I mean, it came out on Valentine's Day. Straight away, there's some marketing, and during kind of March, April time, I was putting a lot of effort into Amazon ads and just keeping it churning, and people were getting it, you know. And was I turning a profit? Tiny, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. It's still a learning process, right? Everyone, you know,
Same.
for
Yeah.
marketing. Yeah. So that's the main difference to answer the question eventually.
Nice. Yeah, we got there. We got around
Yeah,
to it. We have a lot of questions.
Whoa.
The first one, I have a feeling he's asking a question he already knows the answer to.
Mm.
You tell me. Where did you get the stock image for the second fitness book? I have a sneaking suspicion he knows the answer to this already, but go ahead.
He knows the answer. That is actually me. That is me. I did a photo shoot right after my second competition, and one of those images made it to the front of the book.
I believe Richard is what you guys call a cheeky bugger. Is that right?
He's a very cheeky bugger. Absolutely.
All right, let's find the next question. It's got to be in here somewhere. I'm scrolling. Everybody's talking. I'm getting to the question eventually. Wait for me, guys. Here we go. Adam, do you have a daily word count or weekly word count goal? And if so, what is it? So is that how you write with word counts and whatnot?
Yeah, actually, for towards the end of the love story, I was kind of going off track a bit, and I wasn't getting as many words down. So I said, right, 10,000 words a week. Let's do it.
Damn.
And
Okay.
it was, don't get me wrong, it was very difficult. Some weeks I wouldn't hit 10. Some weeks I'd go over 10. So yeah, it was always like a weekly one. And in finishing the Crimson Square, which is a sequel to the Golden Pyramid, I kind of went for a chapter a day, which was around about 3,000, 4,000 words a day, just to kind of blitz through that first draft. So yeah, it kind of varies depending on how annoyed at myself I am if I'm not making progress. So
I had never heard this quote before, but the first draft of anything should take no longer than a season. It's a good quote.
That's from Stephen King's book on writing. Very useful book.
I'm gonna pick that up.
Very, very good book.
What are you planning for the future? And please say it's smut.
Sadly,
Aphrodite. She's so funny.
sadly not. It is.
I'll write you some smut, Aphrodite Lee. I'll write you some.
Yeah.
I love writing smut. It's good stuff. It's healthy.
Basically, what you're asking there, I think, is there a sequel to the love story that goes down a very different path? The answer is no for now.
For now.
Depends what the missus says. She might want it. I don't know.
Amelia, sound off. What,
Yeah,
are we getting any smut? It's up to you, apparently. How do you feel about the carb restriction diets, the protein diets, and the new metabolic confusion diets? I have my opinions on diets, but nobody cares about my opinion on diets. What do you think?
I care about everyone's opinion. I think. I just no. I think it can be very dangerous doing these. I call them fad diets, where you're going to be following something that's quite extreme, and is it actually going to be something you can stick with in the long term? Answer's probably no. Now, carb restriction diets, funnily enough, is something I did in the later stages of my competition prep, where you're kind of manipulating the amount of carbs in your body in the last couple of weeks. And that's really because at that level, you're really seeing the differences because you're such a low body fat, and you're seeing literally the difference each meal makes on your body. So you are tweaking things quite literally every single meal. Protein diets, I mean, for me personally, if you're training and you're working out, you should try and get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 170 pounds, you eat 170 grams of protein in a day. That's just always been my guideline. Metabolic confusion diets is confusing me. I've never heard of it. I'm assuming you're going to somehow trick your body into metabolizing faster. I don't know how. It's very interesting. Yeah, long answer.
I like it. I like it a lot. Would you write a fiction about a character going through a workout diet change routine as part of the adventure?
Yeah, I think I would actually.
Question.
That's a very interesting question. And actually, now I'm looking at that, I'm like, yeah, why not? I suppose it depends When writing, and I think as authors, we do a lot of research, as you mentioned earlier, even for fiction books. And sometimes there's an urge to kind of vomit all of that research onto the page and be like, look, guys, I know all this. And does it help the story? It might not. I think
Right.
I had a few of those in the first book. I was researching a lot of like the Ming Dynasty and ancient Greece. I had all these words that I threw on the page, and Amelia was like, big red question mark. What the hell is this? Okay, fair enough. Get rid of it. It was so. I think to answer the question, yes, I would if it served
The
the
story.
story. Exactly.
Yeah. If you know, there's always the thing where the hero or the protagonist believes a lie, you know,
Mm,
and has to discover the truth along the way. There's
exactly.
it's ripe for some fitness shenanigans. Now, Barrelori asks, "How does one achieve peak sexy?" However, your wife has already answered.
That's the answer.
Fiance. I keep saying wife, but excuse me, fiance.
Same thing at this
She's
point.
almost there. She's almost there. Almost a
Yeah,
wife. Almost a wife.
absolutely.
Gary's planning some smut. Good stuff.
Hey, well, I'm Gary.
Smut is on the cards. Here we go.
News to me, live
Let's
exclusive.
go. We're finding things about everybody today.
This is great.
All right, Ken Shawn has a good one. What are your weakest points as a writer, and how do you plan to address them, soldier?
Mm. Let's get the eyebrow out. My weakest points as a writer, there are many. I think
Same.
certainly ones that I'm aware of. I rely on things like dialogue tags a lot. I use exclamation points, exclamation marks way too much. I have a tendency to kind of drag sentences on sometimes. So for me, it's about being brutal with the words that I'm using. And to address that, it's actually a tip that our good man Kent gave me. Read stuff aloud in the final kind of editing process. Read it aloud, and if it's got a rhythm, if it actually sounds good, then you're on the right path. But if you're kind of stopping and you're hitting these roadblocks, then probably needs to be addressed. So yes, I think for me it's about reading things aloud and just kind of being more aware of how I'm putting things together in terms of exclamation marks, dialogue tags, etc.
Yeah, I will. Obviously, I write with some kind of background music going on. Excuse me. Nothing with lyrics in it to distract me from what I'm writing. Just instrumental stuff, movie scores, things like that.
Mm.
But then when it comes to editing, I'll read out loud to the music so that
That's
there's
good.
like I try to find a rhythm. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you said, you're gonna crash into some stuff where you're like, oh, this reads terribly. Like this is
No.
not. Yeah, it stops the flow of it. Like all of a sudden, I have to like figure out what this
Mhm.
giant word means or like whatever it is.
Yes.
Like there's something that kind of throws a wrench in the chain,
Mm.
so to speak. So I think we got to all of. Oh, we have a very very specific question. I don't know if you can answer this or not, but if I weigh 200 pounds but want to weigh 150, do I according to the current weight or the goal weight? So
Um,
does she eat? I'm guessing according to the current weight or the goal weight.
I'm guessing that's talking about the protein count. I would say first of all, do your research as well. Don't just listen to what I'm saying because I'm just a dude sitting in a chair. But I would say yes, do it to your current weight. Um, for females, I don't know if it's the same in terms of the protein intake. I believe it is, but I've never kind of been a personal trainer. I've always kind of just, I'm talking about my own body here. So yeah, I would say take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt and have a little bit of a Google.
Do the research. Very very
Yes,
important.
always.
Okay, so we are nearing the end of our show here. I think I'm going to pull one last question
Ready?
before we go. Let's see here. Oh, what's your release schedule look like from here? What the next book and the next book and the next book? Hit us.
So the Crimson Square is going to be out imminently. I haven't got a date yet. I am hoping the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to say, let's say by the end of December, certainly. And then the final book in that trilogy will be out, I'm tentatively going to say March or April. And then it's on to a whole new series after that. Details of which I shall reveal in due course.
Nicely done. Nice little tease. I like it.
Absolutely.
To everybody in the chat, thank you all so much for joining us today for Livestream Sunday. If you'd like to hear more with Chris Kenny here, come back on Thursday. The podcast episode that we're going to record after this will be premiering on this channel if you want to see the video version. If you like the audio only versions, those are available that same day as of midnight. So when you wake up in the morning, you can wake up to the dulcet tones of these two guys right here. All right. So the video version on Thursday premieres at 11 a.m. and there's a live chat that goes on for the duration of the premiere. So I'll be in there at least. Come by and join us. Now let's see. Chris, please let the people at home know where they can find your stuff. Everything's linked down below, where they can buy your books, and say goodbye to everybody, man.
Well, first of all, thank you all for watching. It's been a blast. Thank you all for the comments, for making us laugh. You can find me Instagram, Facebook, or email, all of which is down below. Nice and easy to click. And yeah, you can buy my books on Amazon, and they're all behind me that way. And I'm going to stop pointing now.
All right. Thank you again, Chris. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. All of my links are in the downstairs as well. And thank you so much again for being here. Come back next week. Richard Holiday and Adam Stevenson are bound to make us laugh our butts off all day. We're going to be talking about first drafts again, and I can only assume pineapple on pizza.
Oh.
I'll dedicate a whole section to it because I need to take this dude down. He shows up at every stream talking about pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, take him down.
He needs to learn a lesson.
He does. A harsh one.
Right on, writers, and peace out.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.